All right, Sumif. I know a lot of people say they don't use Sumif anymore because they now use some ifs. However, because I make spreadsheets for people with all versions of Excel, I'm often hesitant to use some of the newer formulas because I then make a spreadsheet, give it over to someone who's using an old version of Excel and nothing works. Whereas the SUMIF, if you use it correctly, you don't necessarily need to use the SUMIFs. And I'll show you why. Because SUMIF obviously just works on a very simple principle of sum those numbers if this criteria is met. So what I prefer to do is actually keep it quite simple and then make this formula more confusing. So what I would do is these numbers would be shown on a normal spreadsheet. This would be hidden away off screen, hide the cells. You can't see it, but yet these numbers will refer to that. So what I'll do is I would use an equals SUMIF, open your brackets. Now it says which range are you looking at in order to determine whether or not to sum. And I'll say, well, I'm looking at that range. And then it says, what should that criteria be? And I simply put the X in the brackets because I want, if it's X, I want it to sum. And then another comma, and then it says, what do I sum? And I say that. Just put a 10 in there because that one's missing. So there we go. So if we have a look, if we select all of that, it's 54, and so far it's summing 54. Let's take out that X, so that should be 44. So that's all working. It's summing these numbers if that equals X. Now for this, instead of just putting X in there, I can use any formula I wish there to determine that X. So if I had 5 or 6 different columns here with various bits of data in, I could use the if and or functions to actually look through all of these columns. If that equals that, if this one equals that, I can put as many criteria in as I need. If all of those are true, then produce an X. If not, produce a blank. And then my very, very simple SUMIF will use this X in order to determine what numbers to tally up. So instead of making an overcomplicated SUMIF function, look, if I'm making it for someone using the latest version of Excel, I can use SUMIFs, that's fine, but I can't always be guaranteed of that. So if I need to use the SUMIF, then what I can do is I can use the SUMIF and just put all the criteria within whether or not to produce an X or a blank cell, and then the SUMIF will do the job accordingly, and then this column would then be hidden away out of sight. So yeah, that's why I use SUMIF rather than SUMIFs. But if you obviously, if you're still busy learning and you want to use the SUMIF, that's how you do it. So the first range you put in is the range that you're actually looking at to determine whether to sum. Then you put in what the criteria is, and I've put in the X. The reason why I put the X within those little speech bubbles is because if I don't, it looks for a range called X. And you can see it's already starting to look up functions and things, and that's not right. So you have to put it within the speech bubbles. If you're looking for a number, so if these here are numbers, and if, for example, it's all the ones you want to tally up all of these, if that equals 2, for example, then the 2 you wouldn't put in the brackets. The 2 you just put in like that, because if you put 2 in brackets, in the speech bubble, sorry, then what it does is it actually looks for a text that's formatted as 2 rather than a number, and that just causes all confusion. But in this case, we're doing with the X. And then the final range is the numbers you want to add up. And it's as simple as that. Thank you very much.